$3,938 a month. That's what the VA can pay for vertigo so severe your world spins and you can't stand up. And here's the part nobody warned you about. It isn't how sick you feel that sets that check. It's how often the room starts spinning. So hold on to one word today because it decides everything: frequency. And there's a second way to rate this dizziness that the VA will never volunteer, one that pays some veterans thousands more a year. I'll show you exactly when to reach for it.
This is Erica, and here's the ruling right up front. The VA doesn't pay you for the word vertigo. It pays for what the spinning takes from you, measured against a rule book. You can feel it every single day, never fall, and the number still comes back small.
I'm Emma. Think of it like two doors with two different locks. Door 1 is diagnostic code 6204, peripheral vestibular disorders, for plain dizziness and staggering. Door 2 is code 6205, Meniere syndrome, where the dizziness rides in with hearing loss and full-blown attacks. By definition, they measure different things, and they pay very differently.
Fenrir here. One question first. If it's the same dizzy spell, why would two codes ever pay different money?
Because 6205 climbs higher. A plain vestibular disorder tops out around 30%. Meniere's at its worst reaches 100%. That's roughly $3,900 a month in 2026 for a single veteran. Same spinning, wildly different ceiling.
Run the honest floor too though, so nobody hears jackpot. Nobody is born knowing this system. If your dizziness is occasional and mild, that's 10%. The climb from there isn't about how much it hurts. It's about how often the attacks come and how hard they knock you down.
And this isn't one rare condition. The VA's list breaks it out one name at a time. Vertigo, Meniere's disease, Meniere's syndrome, labyrinthitis, and acoustic nerve damage with deafness. Different labels, one question. How often does the ground move?
All of it lives inside the VA's rating schedule, the official rulebook that hands every condition a code and a percentage. Nothing we say today is opinion. The schedule on va.gov spells out each tier and we'll name them. Before I hand it to the panel, everything today, the full conditions list and a free tools page, lives at va.professorerica.com. And the comments already threw the sharpest question at us.
Before we make this sound simple, the comments ask the hard version. Can you even get VA disability for vertigo when every scan comes back normal? Yes, the exam isn't hunting for a broken part in a picture. It's measuring what the dizziness does to you.
Take that with you. Normal scan, real rating. And the piece most people miss is still coming, the one number that separates a $500 check from a $3,900 one. Look at where this dizziness comes from, because that's the door the VA owes you on. And there are two roads in.
Think of your inner ear as a sealed set of fluid-filled loops, the labyrinth, that constantly tells your brain which way is up. Two things in service wreck it. The first is direct. A blast, artillery, a flight line, a head injury. Any of it can damage those loops or the nerve that carries their signal, and that is a direct service connection. The second road is quieter, and it's the one people leave sitting on the table.
So what's the quiet road?
The second road is secondary, 38 CFR 3.310. A condition the VA already pays you for causes the vertigo. Service-connected tinnitus, hearing loss, a traumatic brain injury. If one of those drives the dizziness comes in riding on it.
Wait, tinnitus can cause vertigo? That feels like a stretch.
Almost. Not the ringing itself. The same inner ear damage that caused the tinnitus often hit the balance organ sitting millimeters away. One injury, two symptoms. Both things are true.
Then there's the one that surprises everyone. Some medications are toxic to the inner ear, certain strong antibiotics, some chemotherapy drugs. If the VA prescribed one for a service-connected condition and it damaged your balance, that's secondary too. But proving one of these roads runs through one appointment and the paperwork behind it. So let's put someone who has sat on the clinical side of these exams on the line.
Happy to jump on, and the hinge is exactly what Erica named the link. On a vertigo claim, I want three things: a diagnosis of the vestibular condition, the in-service cause in the record, and one clean sentence from a clinician saying the two are at least as likely as not connected. That standard is gentler than most veterans fear. 50-50 is enough.
50-50, okay. That changes my answer on the tinnitus one.
It changes a lot of them. And the exam that decides this is the vestibular compensation and pension exam. The one thing to carry into it isn't a scan, it's a diary.
A diary of what exactly?
Every attack, the date, how long it lasted, whether you had to lie down. The rating turns on frequency, and 1 to 4 times a month is a completely different check than once a year.
One clean step there, though. A risk factor isn't proof that blast exposure gets you in the door, but a clinician still has to write the sentence that ties it together.
That sentence is the whole ballgame. Thanks for having me on. One parting thought though, pull your own medical file before you file anything because half the link is often already sitting in it.
That's the part nobody hands you in a pamphlet. Emma, the chat's already circling the version of this people file wrong.
Here's the sharp one. If the same injury caused the tinnitus and the vertigo, do you file them as one claim or two?
2 conditions, separately rated. The tinnitus at its own 10%, the vertigo on its own code. You never bury one inside the other because that's leaving a whole rating unclaimed. Next, exactly how those attacks turn into a percentage.
Real quick, because this next part matters to you. If any of this is helping, tap that like button, then hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next one finds you. Both are free and take about a second, but they tell the algorithm to show this to one more person who needs it.
Careful before anyone panics at the codes. Once you see the shape of this rating, it stops being mysterious. It climbs on exactly one thing.
Picture Meniere's as a 3-rung ladder, and the only thing that moves you up it is how often the room spins. Bottom rung, 30%. Hearing loss, plus vertigo less than once a month.
Okay, let me count that out loud because this is exactly where people trip. Less than once a month sits at the bottom. 1 to 4 a month jumps you to 60. And more than once a week. Hang on, that's 4+ a month easily. That's the very top?
That's the top. More than once a week with that stumbling, off-balance gait is 100%. $3,900 a month. By definition, the same disease pays 3 different checks, and attack frequency is the only dial.
So a good month could quietly cost you the rating?
Careful, and that's precisely why the diary matters. Here's the ruling. The examiner can only rate what's documented. A rough month you never wrote down looks, on paper, like a rough year that never happened. The record picks the rung, not your memory.
And if there's no hearing loss, it isn't Meniere's at all. It's the plain vestibular code 6204. Dizziness with staggering, and that one tops out at 30%. Same spinning, lower ceiling.
Emma, before we crown the hearing loss as the whole story, it's the one thing that unlocks the top floors, right?
Exactly right. Hearing loss plus frequent attacks is the only path to 60 or 100. Without it, the ceiling is 30. Next, what those rungs actually pay in real dollars.
Run the ladder into real money because a code doesn't pay a dime. A percentage does.
Meet Vic, Navy, 20 years on the flight deck, blast hit ears. His Meniere's brings attacks 3 times a week.
3 attacks a week? That's not a life.
It's not, and it's exactly why he sits at 100%. Watch the gap under him.
Start at the bottom. 30%. Vertigo under once a month pays $552.47.
60%, 1 to 4 a month jumps to $1435.
Vic's tier, weekly attacks, 100%, $3,938 a month.
So the swing from the bottom rung to VIX is $3,386 a month. And remember that 1 to 4 a month band from the diary? That's this middle rung, $1,400, right there.
I keep a log of my rescue dog's vet stuff, Loki, because of course, same logic. The paper is the proof, not the memory.
And the comments keep asking the blunt one, Emma, take it.
The blunt one, is a 30% rating even worth filing, or do I wait until it gets worse? $550 a month is $6,600 a year. File it now.
Okay, so which box do I actually write it in?
Here's the ruling on where it goes. VA Form 21-526EZ. Item 16. Name the condition, Meniere's or vestibular disorder, then tie it to the cause. Watch this line, because vague here and the ratter guesses.
And the clock, your back pay runs from the day the VA receives the claim, 38 CFR 3.400. So put it in the moment you're set, not the month you finally feel awful. Waiting only burns effective date. File it vague though, and a 100% case can read like a 30, which is the exact fork we owe you next. The rating trick, the VA won't volunteer. Here's the second way to rate this that I promised you up top, the one the VA will never volunteer. You can rate Meniere's two completely different ways and only one of them lands you the bigger check.
Here's the ruling, straight from the schedule. Path 1. Rate the whole thing under 6205 as a single Meniere's number. Clean, one code, done.
Or Path 2. Think of it like itemizing your taxes instead of taking the one flat number. You rate the vertigo under 6204, the hearing loss on its own table, and the tinnitus at 10%. Then combine all three. By definition, sometimes that stack beats the single Meniere's number.
Which one actually wins?
Whichever is higher, the VA's own note says evaluate it one way or the other, whichever gives the higher rating, but never both. Doing both is pyramiding, and it's barred.
And it comes down to your hearing. Real, rateable hearing loss plus tinnitus can push the combined stack past a mid-tier Meniere's number. But if the hearing is mild and the attacks are what's brutal, the single 6205 number usually wins outright.
Careful though, combining isn't free. Each piece has to stand on its own as rateable. Weak hearing loss adds almost nothing to the combined total, and you filed 3 claims to land exactly where one would have put you.
Honestly, I fold laundry to audiobooks because I like one clean track running, and that's my bias here too. If your case is simple, take the single number and move on. Don't itemize a life that doesn't need it.
I hear you, Cynthia, but the counter is money. For the veteran with genuine hearing loss, itemizing can be thousands a year. The exact number is worth an hour with a VSO before you pick a lane.
So here's what I'd actually do, and the schedule backs every word. If your dizziness is the whole story, rate it under 6205 and be done. If you've also got real rateable hearing loss and tinnitus, have a VSO run both math paths and file the higher one, never both. That's the trick, straight from 38 CFR 4.87. Both paths are legitimate, and Emma's right that itemizing pays some veterans real money. The only wrong move is not knowing the second one exists. Walk away with that. Let's bring it home. Here's the whole map in one line. The VA doesn't pay you for the word vertigo. It pays for how often the room spins and what it takes from you. 2 codes, 2 roads in, and 1 exam that turns your diary into a percentage.
The piece I'd hold on to is the note under 6205. You get the single number or the combined stack, whichever pays more, never both. Most veterans never learn the second path even exists.
And the number that stuck with me. The swing from the bottom rung to the top on the same disease is $3,386 a month. Frequency is the only dial that moves it.
The bar's what got me. You only have to tip it to even. 50-50. Most veterans think they need airtight proof of the link. They don't.
We're not done with the conditions list. 1 episode from now, a twist worth staying for. There's a case where your dizziness earns a rating even when the hearing test comes back flawless. Do not miss how that one plays out. So your one move tonight is simple. Start the diary. Date, how long, whether you had to lie down. Because when the exam asks how often, the veteran with a written record wins and the one working from memory settles for less. Tap subscribe because we're working straight up the VA rating schedule, one condition at a time, and a like hands this to the next veteran stuck on the same wall. One last thing for the comments before you head out. If you filed for Meniere's, did the single code or the combined path end up paying you more? Learn it once, learn it well, and it stays with you for life. See you next time.
Cynthia, that was excellent. I am going to need my whiteboard back though. This is Professor Erica. Thanks for watching and signing off.